I'm even more excited by the opportunity that this presents to these developers, where in the past they may have taken weeks, months, sometimes quarters to build some mission critical automations. In that time period, they could build 5, 10 of them. I think software just eats the world faster with automation, with coding agents, and so on.
Hi everyone, I'm Taqi Jaffri. I work on product for UiPath agents. And today we have Raghu joining us today. Welcome, Raghu.
Hey, nice to be here, man.
Okay, Raghu, so we have a few rapid fire questions for you, which we thought you could shed some lights on. First, coding agents. All the rage, how are you thinking about them at UiPath?
Oh man, we are obviously all the rage, like you said. We see this as a huge opportunity, both for our customers building on top of UiPath, but of course our ability internally to transform the way we do engineering and even product and the way we build our software. So let's talk maybe a little bit about the internal stuff. I think people have mostly heard about it, but I think it's important to re-emphasize what we mean by internal transformation of the software engineering and product functions with coding agents at UiPath. So the part of it that everybody understands is like the build phase, right? You can build a lot more quicker, even in the most complex code bases as software engineers with coding agents. We've embraced it. We're all in.
So we're past like the vibe coding phase. This is real.
We way past it. So it's just 4 levels of, as people are, level 1 is like your intelligence and your autocomplete. Level 2 is where you can do small things autonomously. Level 3 is where you can do reasonably complex features autonomously. Level 4 is you don't need humans to code anymore, right? Mm-hmm. We are in between level 2 and level 3. Our goal is in 6 months to get to level 3, where our software engineers have the best tools available to them so that they can autonomously build reasonably complex features hands off. Of course, they'll supervise, they'll govern them, they'll make sure that the evals and the tests are complete, and so on. But we expect the productivity of our engineers to go up by a significant amount.
So that's the internal view, right? Like our engineers get faster and can deliver more.
Correct.
But there's more.
Correct. UiPath is an automation platform, business orchestration platform. We do task-based automations. We've done RPA. That's how we found our product market fit. But since then, we've added more task-y capabilities like API workflows, agent builders, coded agents, and so on. But we've gone up that value chain to add Maestro and process orchestration layers, cases, and now vertical solutions. It's a reasonably complicated stack, all the way from task-based automations to the most complex business processes. And our goal and vision, and you'll see announcements of this coming up in the coming weeks and months, is to lock, stock, and barrel embrace coding agents in how automations on UiPath, the most complex automations at UiPath, are built with coding agents, managed with coding agents, governed with coding agents, and operated with coding agents. So we are all in, internally and for our customers, all in with coding agents through the overall lifecycle of building software and building automation.
Got it. So the way I think about it is automations that are built on top of UiPath are also software, whether they are low code or pro code, and we are basically letting people build that automation software using coding agents.
Yeah, to give you an analogy, I think if you're a software engineer or a product manager who's familiar with code.
I think I am.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah. You have your Claude CLI with VS Code, and you type some prompts, and you see code being generated. And you're proficient enough with code that you see it, and you understand it. You write your tests, and you write evals for it, and your agent can even run it, self-correct, and so on. In the automation world, we support coded automations, but a lot of our usage is on the low-code side. The same Claude CLI, except instead of VS Code and seeing code, you see VS Code and you see how the low-code manifestation of your intent is translated in that canvas. It could be in the studio experiences that we have or even VS Code. Same idea, same evals, same tests, same self-correction loops as you'd see in a coded workflow. But like you said, we offer automations as software, they're pieces of code. As I mentioned, allow our developers, customers, our builders to express their intent in natural language and see their automations built out from task layers to process layers all the way up to the vertical solutions.
Got it, because with all this noise and hype around coding agents, I think it's easy that sometimes people think low code is dead. So what's your perspective? Is low code dead? Is like these coding agents just going to take over everything? Is natural language the new way to express?
Yeah, look, who knows what happens in 2 years, man? Look, so I'm going to give you a here and now, my best projection for now and maybe the next year, okay? In the world where coding agents are really just unlocking new capabilities, as we've seen over the last 4 or 5 months with Cloud Code, I think for the simpler automations, like the task-based automations, it is less clear to me if low code is valuable. There are complex task-based automations also, like very complicated, like you have a legacy application and you do UI automation. It is beneficial to visualize how the flows and state changes happen in low code and so on. right? But I suspect that over the course of the next few months, not years, that task-based automations is really code generated, where what a platform like UiPath offers is governance, control, security. But if you pop up that value chain that I talked to you about, where you go up that value chain to process, orchestration, and vertical solutions, these are very complex processes, spans multiple systems, multiple humans, multiple departments, multiple steps and stages. It is beneficial to visualize, even for professional developers, to visualize those things in a low-code fashion. And we've done a bunch of work over the last year to also target what we call pro developers, people who have rather just write code.
Yep.
And even for them, we find that for the more complex processes, they prefer to have the visual look and feel for what the model outline of the overall process look like, even though the individual constituents could be code, right? It's just easier to visualize and understand. Now, we're also, with coding agents, going to be able to target less proficient automation developers or even citizen developers. How do they understand that their intent in English is translated to something that is reasonable to them, that is something that would meet their expectations? And we find, I actually think that the value of low code increases in this world, where somebody who doesn't understand code can understand a low code experience to make sure that their English intent is translated into business logic in a visual way that they would understand. So I think the value of low code increases for the automation developers and for the less proficient business users, citizen developers. I think low code remains. It's here to stay for the more complex processes, orchestration capabilities, and vertical solutions.
We'll see how that rolls out. We'll see how that prediction
Yes.
happens. Another thing we're hearing a lot about, as you know, are these general purpose agents. We have all the Claudes of the world, we have CoWorks, et cetera. How do you see that accelerate or, I don't know, play with UiPath?
I think of them as a huge tailwind and addition to the sets of capabilities that I think we will provide to our customers and our customers will benefit from. I think these are the ways how software will be built, humans will become more productive over time. I think one of the things that we as a SaaS service provide to our customers is, even as agents, processes, the open clouds of the world take over, is provide a governed infrastructure where business users, administrators, the CISOs and enterprises can put carefully constructed guardrails without thwarting innovation, by the way, which is what these things unlock. And we absolutely want to embrace that. But we also want to be careful to make sure that we meet our customers. Remember, some of our customers are the biggest, most governed enterprises out there, financial services, healthcare services, and so on. We want them to innovate, but we also want them to feel like they're in control of what these agents can and cannot do. And that's where UiPath comes in. We enable them, we enable this innovation, but also provide guardrails to ensure that these open clouds don't veer off and do into the unknown and do, I guess, some damaging actions, if you will.
As you know, I'm a fan of the clause. They self-extend, right? They write their own software to extend themselves. And because there's no change management, sometimes they self-extend themselves into oblivion. So I think that's going to be a very fascinating thing to observe, how these clauses are actually governed and sort of change managed, et cetera.
It's a very important point that you make. I think there is, you're a technologist, as am I. I think we are fascinated by what the open clause can do and how they can self-learn and self-improve. And you and I both know that you can actually employ guardrails to constrain them. However, I think it's also very real that the diffusion of agents in the enterprise is going to take a while for the right reasons. We want to inspect these things carefully. We want to make sure that these things add additive value first and then transformative value next. Trust is gained by, it's not gained in leaps and bounds, but it's methodically, with one by one, step by step, right? I think we should see a slow but sure transition into the world where over the coming, I hate to say the word years in this world, that is the closest. I mean, I would have said decades, but over the coming years, we should see a transition where, as companies like UiPath provide the right governed infrastructure on these things, even the most stringent, most regulated enterprises will begin to gain trust with these open class, who make these enterprises an order of magnitude more efficient, productive, meet more of their customer needs. I'd call open class a self-running coding agent in the way. Just like we're going to find value within our software engineers, in our teams, the multiplicative factor of what coding agents can do to our customers and to our engineers within, we should expect the open clouds of the world to take that and another order of magnitude, right? Not just within our company, but even for our customers. So I'm looking forward to that world.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting time. This economic diffusion delay, I think, as Dario calls it at Anthropic, that's what you're referring to. That, I think, is the big question. What will be the economic diffusion of these things? Yeah. Okay, last question. What are you excited about? What's top of mind? Anything you want to plug coming soon? We have events, etc.
I've been in the company for 2 years. I've always been, delighted by the opportunities that we have to. But I think I'm with the ways that coding agents, large language models, agents have really changed the way and changed our perspectives on how automations should be built. I am delighted for the opportunities in front of us in terms of like the value chain I talked to you about, tasks, process, and so on. Coding agents, we have a conference in a couple of months, actually next month, the middle of next month, called DevCon, UiPath DevCon, where automations on top of UiPath, be it the process-based orchestrations or the task-based automations, and the governance and management and the operations of it, we'll make that available to our developer base in the hope that it makes them an order of magnitude more productive. I am excited by that, but I'm even more excited by the opportunity that this presents to these developers, where in the past they may have taken weeks, months, sometimes quarters to build some mission critical automations. Now they could do in that time period, they could build 5, 10 of them. I don't know if you remember this Mark Andreessen quote from 20 years ago, software will eat the world.
Yeah.
I think software just eats the world faster.
Yeah.
With automation, with coding agents and so on. I'm super excited for the role that UiPath plays with coding agents, with this value chain unlock, tasks to agentic automation, to really lock, stock, and barrel unleash the power of coding agents on top of a governed, secure platform to really, really give value to businesses and to our developers to do more with less. So I'm excited for that.
Okay, so see you at DevCon, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Taqi. Great talking to you, man.